Non-derogability. The prohibition of torture and cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment is absolute and non-derogable. Article 2, Section 2 provides, no exceptional circumstances whatsoever, whether a state of war or a threat of war, internal political instability, or any other public emergency, may be invoked as a justification of torture. The absolute prohibition of torture, therefore, means that, under normal circumstances, torture must not be balanced against any other interest, including national security or the protection of human rights of others. To illustrate, all attempts to justify the practice of torture in the war against global terrorism in order to extract information from a suspected terrorist in a ticking bomb scenario clearly violates the absolute prohibition of torture as laid down in Article 2, Section 2 of CAT. Reservations. A reservation is a limitation on the commitment undertaken by a state, but generally it is desirable to have state parties to treaties with reservations than for states not to be parties to such treaties at all. A number of parties have made reservations to their application of the covenant. Dispute settlement. Article 30. Any dispute between two or more states parties concerning the interpretation or application of this convention which cannot be settled through negotiation shall at the request of one of them be submitted to arbitration. If within 6 months from the date of the request for arbitration, the parties are unable to agree on the organization of the arbitration, any one of those parties may refer the dispute to the International Court of Justice by request in conformity with the statute of the court. Bahamas, Bahrain, China, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Fiji, Indonesia, Israel, Kuwait, Laos, Mauritania, Oman, Pakistan, Poland, Samoa, Saudi Arabia, Thailand, Turkey, and the USA take position that disputes may be referred to the International Court of Justice only with the consent of all parties to the dispute. Redress. Article 14. Each state party shall ensure in its legal system that the victim of an act of torture obtains redress and has an enforceable right to fair and adequate compensation, including the means for a full rehabilitation as possible. In the event of death of the victim as a result of an act of torture, his dependents shall be entitled to compensation. The parties of Bahamas, Fiji, New Zealand, Samoa, and USA reserve the right to award compensation to torture victims only at the discretion of their own courts. Cooperation and extradition. Germany reserves the right to communicate upon ratification such reservations, declarations, or interpretations as are deemed necessary, especially with respect to the applicability of extradition. Ecuador, Pakistan will not permit extradition of its nationals, while Vietnam makes reservation that extradition shall be in accordance with Vietnamese laws and regulations.